connecting us now. And George, I'm just so delighted that you're able to speak to us today. And I really wish you were here so I could give you a big hug. But of course, hugs aren't a good idea in the current climate. But I do miss you. I do miss you. And I look forward to a chance to where we can all get together again. Everyone's no doubt read George's bio, so I'm not going to read it out again, but I invite George to tell you any important bits as part of his introduction as we commence the meeting. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Beryl. Indeed, inshallah, what we say here, soon we can meet again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of course, we're looking forward again for physical, normal chat and a conference. I really appreciate the invitation from New Zealand Peace Excellence Foundation, Dr. Román and Beryl and all the team in New Zealand to make this happen. And I think you always lead in the position of sharing knowledge among professionals related with business excellence, benchmarking, and I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you very much, Beryl. So I'm just a Chilean guy with a family living in Dubai, enjoying my time here with the family almost 3 years, and working in Dubai Police in Business Excellence and Benchmarking Department. We call it Excellence and Pioneering Department. And it is a pleasure. Today, I will share some knowledge, some research related with business excellence lesson learned from COVID-19. So let me just start the presentation. We all know, even Dr. Roy might just say, why you have that ugly slide over there? Well, it's where we're dealing with all over the world, right? Despite the fact that organizations were confronted with global health emergencies before, like SARS, H1N1, Ebola, many seems to have forgot the lesson learned. And that's one of the important part. We are here today to discuss about lesson learned. I know probably this presentation will be better, I hope in February, March, May 2021, when probably all went back to new normal. And we are not dealing anymore with the fact of pandemic hit us very well. So I hope this presentation can cover the last probably 6, 7 months, 8 months for some countries. And we'll talk about what the organizations are doing in order to deal with the pandemic and how we can learn from some of the best practices. I always say that when Dr. Román explained the TRAIN methodology or any other author around the world, in our case here, Professor Mohammed Zaidi in UAE, Middle East, one of the key factors in order to take this lesson learned is to be humble enough to recognize that we can do better. And that's one of the first steps. And so it is important to have open mind in order to really take this lesson learned and move forward stronger than before. So I probably you read this before, and the power of the crisis is that the people become focused. Everyone agrees what the goal is or should be. In this crisis, pandemic 2020, COVID-19, we have become laser sharp on our priorities. That brings a lot of clarity. And I hope that happened to many organizations. I know for a fact, one of the best way to understand what are exactly your priorities is when your organization have a clear value proposition. And the value proposition is understand for your customer and stakeholders. When you have a value proposition and you offer low-cost airline ticket or you offer the safest city in the world, which is our case in Dubai Police, everything we do, we focus to keep Dubai the safest place in the world. Everything you do to offer the best ice cream, the most flavory ice cream in the world, is focused on the value proposition. And that's what the customers, the citizens, the stakeholders value. He'll help you to understand that every process, every initiative, every project need to aim to satisfy the customer, the stakeholders in your value proposition. So I think this crisis, this pandemic, been helping a lot of organizations to understand what exactly is the point of focus your priorities. And it's all about that. It's all about what exactly we need to focus on and how to add value to our customer 24/7. I have some graph for you to share with you guys about a different point of view in the last probably 6 months. What happened with COVID? I know I don't want to spend time on this, but just I want to share with you how are the market, in this case, stock market outbreak since the start of the pandemic. Since in some countries January, in our case in Dubai February, in my own country Chile March, and we can move forward. But everything, as you see the screen over here, went down, and so for other countries still difficult to improve this graph, right? Dan Johnson 13.3 went down, like in the heat part was at the end of March, and now it's recovering around 13.3%, but it was down like around 36%. And all this graph, what I'm showing is the reality, how the pandemic hit us. For example, world economy is struggling with rising unemployment rate. I know for many countries that be below 6-7% of unemployment was a great rate. But now we are seeing double digit in most of the developed countries' economies. So it's tough, it's not easy. And that's what many organizations, many countries, government and focus in order to help to recover the economy. The COVID-19 crisis has posed a number of severe challenges for business, for all type of business. When I say here the unemployment rate in this screen is the relationship, the partnership between the government and the private sector in order to both sector focus to recover the economy, producing more jobs opportunity, helping small, medium enterprise organization to perform better and try to find the path to recover, to survive, right? So we can see, let me see, you can see huge drop in choppers. Look at the numbers and until end of June 2020. For example, Latin America and Mexico during the lockdown, they hit almost 87% of a huge drop in choppers. But in depend on the industry, for example, I don't know how many of you watch Netflix, but I remember seeing a screenshot of Netflix, the result. By the end of April 2020, they increased the business around the world around 45%, 68% increase in Asia, 55% increase in South America. And that happened with different type of business. For example, all the delivery, all the digital transformation that helping a small medium enterprise or big, large corporation in order to perform better. They have different statistics that this huge drop in choppers. You can see Airbnb, Uber, Karim, and Dubai, UAE, how they went down because not using the service. And we can talk about this for many more minutes, but it's not what we're here for. I just want to give you some statistic and what is the reality that we are heading now. Depending on the city, the country that you are living now, the context might be different, but we have one thing all in common, that we are facing the major crisis in the history of the world with this pandemic 2020, and in different ways, an economy way, and customers, and the way that we are dealing with our partnership, supply chain, operational excellence, etc. For example, Dubai, we are in Dubai around 5 million people, and In December 2019, they passed around 90 million passengers through Dubai airport. 25% of them stay in Dubai as a tourist. So Dubai is your hub for tourists, right? But look how the tourist industry went down worldwide from 2019 to 2020, dropped around 35%. Dubai opened business for tourists again July 7th. So in the last 3-4 months, it's been recovering, but still hit for some business like restaurants, hotels, hospitality business, and suffering all over the world. And I would say that when I was talking before the presentation with Beryl and Dale and Román, that every country, every city have a different context. For us here in Dubai, one of the main GDP comes from tourists. So tourists for us is a major thing. So when we, in Dubai Police, when we say we want to approach, we want to make sure that Dubai is one of the safest cities in the world, the tourists have around 95% of them in the customer service. They are delighted to fly to Dubai. They're happy to be here because they feel safe. And during the pandemic, now since July 7, the tourist time is still recovering a little bit, but not the number that we used to have a year ago. So the experts say that probably we'll be back to normal, new normal numbers, statistic, probably for summer 2021. But as you know, people do not come, less people come in summer in Dubai because the weather is super hot. So most of the tourist people start flying now from September to April, May next year. And that's the industry of travel tourists around the world. Let me move forward. So how can we formulate strategy in the face of uncertainty? And that's one of the main challenge for every organization. It doesn't matter, it's a small, medium enterprise, large corporation, it's a huge gap that they need to fill. That's a huge opportunity as well to see what exactly is the strategy that we need to follow now with this pandemic. So that's a key question leader must ask. They prepare for the future. And in the midst of the global pandemic, answering never felt more urgent. So as soon as possible, many of you probably would like to push this button and say, you know what, push to reset the world. But we cannot do that? No, right? We need to move forward. We need to be able to engage our employees, to engage our stakeholders, partnership, and move forward together stronger. But it sounds like pretty easy, but it's not, especially when you are, one second. Okay, especially when you are facing difficult time. It's difficult to compare. It's not easy to compare, to say what happened in Auckland, New Zealand, Dubai, UAE, or Santiago, Chile, because every city, every country have a different reality. But I hope everyone, every leader, every CEO, general manager, mayor, ministry can ask this question and try to answer it as soon as possible, because the strategy, the way that we thought that's going to be 2020 is not. We need to think if our value proposition is still exceeding the expectation of our customers. I can talk about Dubai Police. We measure every single day if the citizen, if the tourist, the investor of Dubai feel like Dubai is still a safe place to be. And for us, everything we do is to help this city to be the safest city in the world. And I can show you, or I can provide you some international index related with this rate, crime rate, etc. numbers that the position of Dubai Police has been in the top 10 for the last 10 years in different international index. So it's about execution. It's not just about changing the mentality and move forward with the strategy. It's how well you can execute. And that's a big opportunity. That's one of the most important part. How can you execute well? And during the pandemic, one of the major questions related with this topic are, there is a feasibility strategy plan that can lead to business excellence in time of difficult timings and turbulence? What are the priorities and main goals that they have to be set? Because probably the priority back in December 2019 changed a lot in February, March 2020. So can we adjust? Can we modify? Can we do something related to execute well? Because living this new normality, context change a lot. So based on your business, based on your value proposition, based on how well you are executing everything you did, everything you promised to your customers, it might change. Can business excellence strategy focus on this goal? Truly safeguard and survival and prosperity? It's hard to answer. It's hard to say yes, business excellence will help you to focus, will help you to have the right strategy, and will help you to execute well. I don't think so. It's like that. It's a combination of many things. It's getting things done, like I will talk about people, strategy, and operation. It's not easy, right? How can the organization improve the future response? And how can you respond and it's not too late? Because you're still in business, you still competing with others, you still facing lack of digital transformation, lack of communication with your customers, lack of good leadership, thinking in the future, and engaging your people to join the boat and ride the same road the same way. So the leverage lesson learned to create value and emerge stronger are different. I just point out here 5 main lessons, and we can talk about it after my presentation. You can ask me questions. By the way, this presentation is yours. I can share with you at the end of the presentation. I have my email, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn. If you want to ask me any question after the presentation and we don't have the time to do it, please feel free. Okay, lesson number 1. Not working at the speed of the customers. We heard this before many times. There are many authors talk about how important it is to be in the same level of your customer, to exceed the expectation of your customers. One author that I like a lot, the way that he's been writing related with management, is called The Future of Management by Gary Hamel. 2008, I think is this book, 2009, something like that. Gary Hamel, the Future of Management. And in the book talk about a lot about management, of course, operational excellence, customer expectation. And one of the things he talk about, can we make sure that we're on the same level, that we are talking the same language, that we are exceeding the expectation of the customers? That's a plus, especially during the coronavirus, during this time, right? So crisis amplify flows. The pace of which the coronavirus has not only magnified, but also accelerated the damage this flow creates, has been eye-opening and replaced with lessons to be learned. Today, we see mid-sized company, small, medium enterprise company scrambling to activate digital transformation with customer and employees. For some of them, it could be already too late. They are out of business. I remember during the lockdown, I was traveling to Chile for 10 days from Dubai. And while I was there, Dubai closed the border. So I ended to be with my family in Chile for 3 months. And I remember seeing at the first few weeks how the delivery service, supermarket, restaurants tried to offer everything by online service through digital transformation, but you can tell they were not ready. You order a burger and they bring you an ice cream. You order a new t-shirts and they bring you a jeans. Those kind of things make you to feel that the company were not able, were not ready for this. And that's okay. But and how that happened? Imagine 3 months, 8 months ago. If we are working in digital transformation for the last, 2-3 years, for sure those organizations would be better and better shape in order to satisfy the customer expectation. For example, think about in the public sector, as Dubai Police, we're a public organization. We follow the best practices around the world using trade methodology from Dr. Román from New Zealand. And we did a project in 2018, and we saw the public sector using digital transformation. And one of the best 2 countries in the world was Estonia, Singapore, offering everything online, everything without paperless, with paperless, without bureaucracy of the regular service, through digital transformation. But they're doing this for the last 10 years. 97% of the public service in Estonia use digital transformation. So that means that they were ahead already with the crisis. Lesson number 2, use adaptive problem solving from better decision making. Teams that solve problems as a team are shared accountability for the outcomes and are better meeting deadline than those teams that rely on individuals to make decisions. And that's true. In our case, as a Dubai police, we've been learning from different police forces around the world. And one of the police forces that we've been learning is a Singapore police force, New Zealand police. I send my greetings to Mike Bush, who used to be the commissioner of New Zealand police, and he retired in April 2020, I think. London Metropolitan Police, and other police forces around the world. And one of the things that they have in common when the accountability make as a team is better performance than trying to do as an individual. And we know that, right? An approach that leverages the skill and resources of many people is likely to generate greater number of good solutions as a team, right? So in the context that we are living, we try to make, or it's better to make a solution working together as a team that rather than individual. Move forward. Lesson number 3, not thinking about the future in a different way. Probably very obvious. Those business leaders who believe we will return to business as usual are in a huge disadvantage. We all know that we are living a new normality or reality, new life. I don't know how they call it, but everything changed. Everything changed because now the mask, sanitizer are part of your personal things that you carry 24/7. And you freak out when you're in the parking lot and say, oh my God, I lost my mask. Where I left my mask? And you, in Dubai, probably in New Zealand as well, you cannot go anywhere without a mask. Dale was talking about in Minneapolis a little different, but some people use masks, some people doesn't use. But in Dubai, it's mandatory. Just to give you an idea, if you go to a public space, a park, a beach, any public area, you will get a fine of around $1,000 if you are without mask. So everything changed, right? Lesson number 4, set up an execution excellent. Set up execution excellent. Just because the time are flow does not mean that the leader need to tight control or micromanaging execution, rather than a positive, of course. Because conditions are so difficult, frontline employees need to take on more responsibility for execution, action, and collaboration. Again, frontline employees in Dubai Police are the police officers that they are driving the patrol, they are on the metro, they are on the tourist areas, and they are dealing with control the pandemic. We use a smart helmet that you can control the temperature of the people around you, and you can find if somebody have more than 36.5, 37 Celsius, and they can call the ambulance, the emergency department, the healthcare authority, in order to see, to put you aside if you might have potential coronavirus. But these people, these guys are in the front line thinking to reduce, trying to help the society in Dubai to understand how important it is to control the COVID-19, right? Because spread out is the thing that we need to prevent in order to have a normal life. I was talking to Dr. Román before. Yesterday was one of the peak number of cases per day in Dubai, around 1,500 cases one day. And since April that we have around 1,300 cases. Yesterday was the worst day. But the good part, we are open to business. Theater is open since July 7th. And restaurants, malls are open, school, work, we can come to work. And because it was difficult, I don't know how many of you still working distant, and it's not easy, but in my case, I'm very happy that we went back to the office. Lesson number 5, cultivate extraordinary partnership. Partnership is a key part. Before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic, partnership with your stakeholders is a key. Working with partner is a routine, but the speed of action only goes so far if other players in the ecosystem fail to move just as fast. We need our partner in order to be successful in Dubai Police. You guys need your partner in order to be successful in your own business. Partnership, the key partners are the ones that help you to add value to your customers, to the citizens, in our case, citizens of Dubai, because in our case, for example, RTA, Road Transportation Authority, ambulance, civil defense, help us to perform better. So partnership in any business is critical, but during the pandemic, we've been seeing how important it is to have a clear, transparent process relationship with your partners in order to survive, in order to perform better, in order to achieve the customer expectation about your product or service. So those 5 lessons that I'm sharing with you now are probably one of the, I'm sure there might be 10, 20 or 30, and I'm sure we can get more during the process of October to March, April 2021, when we can discuss after the pandemic and we can take action of this lesson learned. But so far, that's what I'm seeing the last 6-7 months, especially in our case in Dubai Police and other organizations in the Middle East. So moving forward, the three core process of execution, the discipline of getting things done. One author, his name is Ralph Smith. In 2007, he launched a book called Balanced Scorecard and BPM, Balanced Scorecard and Business Process Management. How they link together, how we balance our strategy, our operation, our system technology. And one of the 3 key factors in order to be successful with execution, with the discipline of getting things done, are strategy, the right people on board, and execution premium operation, how we can deal with the daily operation. It's not about changing your strategy because the pandemic, and now everything has to be online, digital transformation, innovation, everybody talk about it. But the big challenge and how you want to execute this. It's not about offering you a menu from the apps that you can choose any brief at this moment. And the thing is, that's a marketing strategy to capture new customers. But how you want to deliver the breakfast, that's the big challenge. And during the pandemic, we've been seeing a lot of opportunity for improvement in the operation side and the supply chain management and how we operate under this condition, which are totally unexpected and totally challenging and totally different than we used to deal in the past. So those are one of the most important part. Let me go back 1 second. So let me see where I am. I mentioned it before, but I want to say it again. Digital transformation is being one of the most critical fact of organization dealing with during the pandemic. Acceleration of digital tech and analytics is already a cliche. The COVID-19 crisis has accelerated the shift to digital, but the best companies are going further by enhancing and expanding the digital channel. They are successful using advanced analytics to combine new resources of data with their own insight to make better and faster decisions and strengthen their link to customer. But strengthen the link to customer in order to satisfy and to accomplish your value proposition. Digital transformation will help you in order to achieve what you promise to your customers, to achieve what you promise in your product or service, to exceed the expectation of your customers. But with a clear strategy and a clear execution, digital transformation can be part of your business excellence framework, can be part of your business excellence execution. It doesn't matter what type of business you are, public or private, small, medium enterprise, a large corporation. In our case, Dubai Police, we're around 25,000 people between civilian and police officer. And we've been shifting the digital transformation since, I don't know, easy 7-8 years ago. So during the pandemic, we did a lot of transactions by digital. For example, those of you like Dr. Román that have been here before in Dubai, we have a smart police station, SPS, smart police station. It's the only police station in the world without human interaction. And during the lockdown in April, the beginning of April until the beginning of May, during this time of lockdown in Dubai, we did double of transaction through digital channels in Dubai Police that regular police station. We have already around 14 smart police stations in Dubai, and customers, citizens, tourists feel very close to Dubai Police when they walk into a smart police station and you do any service, more than 60 service, with just without human interaction, just with machine. And if you want to talk to somebody, you can call the control room, and there will be somebody from our control room center answer your question. And if you lose your passport and somebody steals your watch, anything, more than 6 service. So we launched the first one back in November 2017. So this year has been 3 years with the smart police station. And that's what we call it, in our case, digital transformation to approach, to be close to our customers 24/7. So seeing all of the business excellence framework around the world, in our personal experience, in our Dubai police experience, I can tell you that using, in our case, the Dubai 4G, Dubai Government Excellence Program framework, in order to perform better, in order to have a clear path where we're going in Dubai police, being helped us before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and I'm sure after the pandemic. So, in my personal opinion, I recommend all the organization, like in New Zealand, for instance, using the business excellence, give you a guideline, give you a framework to see what are your strengths and what are your opportunities for improvement. And I'm sure during the pandemic, the opportunity for improvement been increasing. The big challenge is what are you willing to do in order to reduce it, in order to prepare a plan, in order to perform better, and in order to exceed the expectation of the customers. So it doesn't matter which one you use it, of the business excellence framework, at least will help you to guide your business performance better without the framework, business excellence framework. At the same time, in Dubai Police, we use a trade best practice benchmarking methodology. Dr. Román will tell me probably later, but it's been more than 10 years. And actually in the last 3 years, Dubai, we learned, it's an initiative from Dubai Government Excellence Program, helping a public organization to join in a project in order to learn each other and to perform better. We use trade in Dubai Police, and I can tell from my own experience in working in Dubai Police, using trade methodology has been a very successful, very helpful tool in order to see what are the best practices, in order to not invent the wheel, and in order to being humble enough to recognize that there are other police forces, other companies, because with trade methodology, we don't just look in police forces or law enforcement agencies. We also see what are the best practices in BMW, New Zealand Airline, any Singapore engineering technology. It doesn't matter. No matter what sector you are, with this methodology, with this tool, will help you to see what are the best practices and take them and use it. And during this hard time, I'm 100% sure that the best practice is being one of the best tools that we use in Dubai Police. So tracking lesson learned and understanding what went wrong and what went well is critical. Organizations need to learn from past experience and identify improvement opportunities. In my recommendation with this excellent framework will help you to understand what are the improvement opportunities. No matter how well prepared the organization was before the pandemic, some things go wrong simply because you can't plan everything. Something gone wrong because, plan everything. A post-crisis review compromised both technical investigation into costs and event, including, for example, root cause, and assessment of effectiveness of response. So the opportunity, don't let good learning go to waste. Learning and adaptability has been on CEO's agenda for some time, but even more so during the pandemic. In the last few months, some of the best leadership teams have been on a steep learning curve. Learning how to lead in a time of crisis, learning how to manage rapidly forming agile teams, making decisions at much faster pace, and learning to adapt. Learning to adapt is one of the critical part. Forward-thinking companies are now accelerating their capabilities building effort by developing leadership in a critical thinking skill at different levels of the organization, increasing their employees' capacity to engage with technology and use advanced analytics, building functional skills for the future, such as next generation procurement, industry 4.0 manufacturing, digital marketing, and sales. I think we are in a really, we are dealing with a difficult timing, but one of the best things that we can take from this COVID-19 is don't let good learning go waste. We need to take action. We need to have our learning experience. We need to have our learning lesson and apply, because as we know, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years later, we will hit another pandemic or another natural disaster or anything that will question why you guys didn't learn if you already have some past experience. You've been dealing with this. It's nothing new. So my personal, ending now my presentation, one of the most important part for any advice in the lesson learning is learning to adapt. Learning to adapt is a key part of business. Seeing the new context, seeing the value proposition, and if the customer are adding and follow your product, your service, because you are promise your value proposition and you accomplish your value proposition to them. So we heard this before. Charles Darwin, 1809. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survive. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. And that's, and 100% indeed agree with this quotation, because we need to adapt to the new normality, the new life that we are living now. And I know of many organizations, no matter in the public, private sector, or the side of the company, will perform better if they understand how to adapt to the organization, to the new context. I just wanna, before I'm finishing my presentation, one of the things that happened to me and my colleague, Dr. Brennan Hitpass in Chile during the lockdown, we began a journey of writing, in my case, my second book, it was the number 7, I guess, together. And we started like in end of 2018, but believe me, during 2019, it was very little work. And during the lockdown in Chile in 3 months, we did probably the best of 2019, 12 months. In 3 months, we accomplished better results. So since June 2020, our book is available in Amazon, called Business Process Management Applied to Business Excellence and Benchmarking, in ebook and paperback. Thank you very much for your attention. 45 minutes, I want to be straight to the time. I really looking forward to answer some questions. I really appreciate Dr. Román very for the invitation and for the opportunity to be this morning with you guys.
Yeah, we've got one question for you. George from Peru, he says, has the Dubai crime rate gone down or up during the pandemic? And has the Dubai state reduced any police services as a result of the pandemic?
Let me see the first one. Has Dubai crime rate gone down, up during the pandemic? Well, it has been Interpol, Europol, and all the agencies. One of the crime that went up during the pandemic is cybercrime. So the cybercrime has been up. Not in Dubai, I'm talking about global, and it's one of the major work that we are dealing now with all the cyber finance, all type of cybercrime, of course. But in Dubai was even better than in 2019 compared with 2018 and 19. Second question, has the Dubai state reduced any police service as a result? No, not at all. We even increased the services because during the lockdown, Dubai police was with the crisis and management team of Dubai agency to cooperate with the ambulance, civil defense, and other partnership like RTA and Dubai police in order to help the citizens to stay safe. So we've been even increasing the service that we offer to our citizens and tourists in Dubai. They'll have a question from Minneapolis. I know Dale, I'm sorry, it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in your city, but happy to answer your question.
Okay.
Can I? Yeah, you can ask a question. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. My question is, your conclusions and what you presented here are very consistent. I did a study on COVID around the world and published a report, and we're going to have a conference sponsored with the Filipino Society Equality in November. But really, it gets to the point of you mentioned you got 4, 5, 6, whatever the number of frameworks. And a lot of the research over the last 5, 10 years that Dawn Ringrose has done from Canada says maybe we got 5 or 10% of our organizations in the world that are doing this business excellence stuff. And my question is, how do we get more countries doing this? I mean, we cannot exist as a planet, in my estimation, by having 5 or 10% of our organizations doing excellence and the rest are doing some of the stuff you talked about, which is we're not learning from the past, we're repeating the past. So how do we get more? I'm focused on, getting these excellence frameworks and organizations out at perhaps a country level. Because what I face here in the United States, we've got a dilemma. Government is not using excellent frameworks. We've got the Baldrige people, they're doing great stuff at their own level, but it's having no impact in the White House. It's having very little impact at the state level. So we cannot exist with just 5 or 10% of organizations doing it. So how do we get these frameworks in a much more holistic way out to the rest of the world?
Thank you, Dale. Very interesting question and very difficult to answer.
I know, I'm not looking necessarily for, here's the solution, but that's what I'm addressing and trying to get our people like this that are on these calls to think in those terms.
Thank you, Dale. In my personal opinion, don't say around 5–10% of the organization. I'm extremely happy to see that there are organizations using the Basic Excellence Framework. In our case in Dubai, it's mandatory. All the public organizations use the Dubai Government Excellence Program, the 4G. We evaluate since 1997 the performance of our organization using the Basic Excellence Framework. I didn't see, probably Dr. Robin might have more experience of that, sharing with us other government around the world using, like probably Singapore, of course, but the majority of the government around the world that do not use this excellent framework. And actually, if you look South America, it's even worse. The reality is really bad. But let's talk about Europe. If you use the EFQM, more than 35,000 organizations use the EFQM in Europe, and even in the Middle East or all over the world. And you can see the result in the long run. I'm not talking about 6 months, I'm talking about 10 years, 15 years. You change the mindset, the DNA, the culture, performance, looking always to do better, always to improve your performance. Now, how we can increase? I don't see increasing. It's going to be really, really difficult. I would love to see simple using form of this excellent framework. I would love to see a high school kid. I would love to see primary, secondary kid learning from quality path, learning from quality. Remember, excellence is a journey, but for some organizations start late. I wish we can teach this not at the university level. I wish we can teach this in not preschool, I would say secondary school, high school. To have new leaders to understand that quality is a way to live. It's a philosophy. It's like the Harley Davidson guys. They have a philosophy. We need a philosophy of quality. And totally agree with you. But increasing this excellent framework used by organizations around the world, probably Dr. Román will help me, but I don't see any positive trend in the next 20 years.
I guess you're right for realistic, but my sense is having seen what we face in terms of climate change, and if you just take this 17, 18-year-old woman from the United Nations, from Sweden, that said, in terms of climate change, we as leaders ought to be ashamed. We are not facing the world's problems for what they are. And so there's a lot of expectation out there that we don't have 30 years, we have 10 or 15, and if that. So to take the position, well, it's difficult. I'm saying you got to step it up and make a way to having. So that's why I'm just trying to build an awareness. That's all.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Bill.
We do have another question coming up.
Yeah. Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So first of all, thank you so much for so detailed presentation on what are the lessons learned for all of us. Yeah, so I have some of the questions, not one. The first one that I would like to start is, I mean, most of the organizations, whether it's in New Zealand, because I'm in New Zealand right now, so whether it's in New Zealand or in India, Dubai, or United States, most of the organization, I think, did not had any plan, the risk management plan when it comes to any of the pandemic. And so what are your thoughts whether the pandemic has exposed those organizations that they didn't had any sort of plans, and that's why there was a huge impact on whether it's on their stakeholders, whether it's on their image, whether it's on their stocks, and I mean everything for that organizations, and that's why they had this mass layoff, because there was an impact on their revenue and they cannot survive. So what's your thought on that first?
Thank you, Bikash. I wanted to say, like, most organizations, the problem is they don't have a vision. They don't have a long-term vision. They just focus on the daily operation, and they see the fruit, and that's it. And then do not move forward to see what is the path in the next. Listen, I was reading one article in New York Times like 2 weeks ago, related with this question as well, because most of the people, most of the organization before the pandemic, in a strategy point of view, even different author around there, Robert Kaplan, David Norton, Prahalat, Alexander Osterwalder, they talk about, yeah, well, before the pandemic, short-term plan could be 6 months, 1 year, mid-term plan could be 2-3 years, and long-term plan could be 5 to 10 years. But now during the pandemic, we learned that probably a short-term plan can be 1 day for a business, restaurant business. A long-term plan could be a week. So everything changed. But when you have a vision and you have a clear vision, and you know exactly what is your strategy, and you know exactly what you promise to your customers, and your value proposition is clear, and they understand, they buy your product, your service because of that, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's easier, it's better to achieve what you promise. The problem is, again, and totally agree with you, many companies do not have a vision, they don't think in the future, even the future is next week or next year or 10 years later. Mm-hmm. They just focus in operation daily basis.
Right. Yeah. So continuing onto that, one, I'm sorry for all of the people who are waiting to ask the question in the queue. I just want to continue with that. So
we got 2 more waiting. No pressure.
Thank you, bro. So continuing on to that question, and as you have said, most of the organizations are not into the infinite games, as also said by Simon Sinek, one of the author of Infinite
Yes.
Games. So he said the same thing, that most of the organizations are focused on the short-term goals and short-term priorities, and that they have not in the infinite one. But now, when I mean the big organizations, the organizations which were able to adopt based on the technology, for example, Amazon and I think most of the IT organizations, they didn't had any much impact because all their work was online. They had employees already working from home, and all the data were on the cloud, and they can share things. What about the organizations, for example, the small organizations which were not equipped for this transition towards the online thing? And should the government interrupt here now, saying that uh, all the registered organizations that we have all over the world, I mean, specific to the countrywide, should the government now interrupt and saying that, so you are a registered organization, and what's your plan if something happens like this in future? Because it will have a direct impact on the customers, it will have a direct impact on the employees, because if you're not able to uh, survive in those conditions, you will have the mass layoffs,
Yep.
right? And then it will have an impact on employees, it will have an impact
Okay.
on customers, and overall over the community as well.
Yeah, some good points. Some good points there. What are your thoughts on that, George? I'm just conscious of time, and we've got some other people lined up. If you don't mind,
That's it from my
forgive me
side.
for interrupting you. Cool.
I know, and I agree with you. It's exactly the same. In the government point of view, there are many statistics, but we learn probably the most important: shut down the whole country, the whole world, the whole cities is being one of the biggest mistakes. And actually, we will see in the future scientific article referred with this. But more people are dying because other disease than the pandemic, and it's a true fact. And so we need to make decisions based on what is good for every sector, not just for economic, for health. And the government have to have the capability to put everything in balance and to learn what to do in the next crisis or pandemic, my friend. But send me an email, I will answer to you, and we can chat, okay?
That's great. Now, is it?
Thank you.
Forgive me if I pronounce your name improperly. Is it Amlan?
Yes, it is Omlan. Am I
Omlan.
audible?
Yes, you are. You were a bit funny there for a minute, but you're sounding good now. Take it away.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, I think the video is a bit blurry. Pardon that.
That's
Okay,
okay.
so the questions I have, firstly, I think my first question is kind of covered by a couple of people before me. But what I wanted to understand from Mr. Jorge or anybody else on the call is, I think it would be a fair assumption that the current pandemic that we are in, I don't think it is the last one we are going to face, let's say in the next few years. The way things are progressing, and there are reports coming from different parts that some other outbreak is there. So my first question is, are we, as a community, really prepared for future pandemics? Because like Vikash, I think some of the larger organizations are probably better, reasonably well equipped to face the pandemics. But what about most of the enterprises, the vast majority of which are not really that well equipped in terms of funds or other resources?
Right. What's your thoughts on that one? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Okay, Robin, I don't know about the people. It's very tricky.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
Yeah. I don't think the big ones are that well prepared either, to be honest. But
I
yeah,
mean, I'd just like to say
Yeah,
something.
I know. I meant in a comparative way.
yes. Robin?
No, I was going to say, which relates to the previous point by Vikash as well. I mean, it's if you find a whole, never mind organizations, you find whole governments not prepared whatsoever, and they all go into a state of firefighting. Luckily, New Zealand was better at firefighting than most other countries, but very few of the countries were actually prepared for something like this. A few Asian countries were.
Yeah.
So again, if it happens again, are we confident that the learning has been taken in by the governments? I'm not so sure, because again, they don't understand excellence. They don't have all the systems in place.
Mhm.
And even with the New Zealand, which has done quite a good job, there's been really gaps in the system in terms of the quality management system supporting, trying to make sure that the virus doesn't come back into the country. So there's been major lapses, which should be easily addressed by the knowledge we have on quality management. So, and this comes back to Dale's question: is how do we change all this? Which is which is quite a daunting prospect to actually change the situation on a worldwide perspective.
Yep.
But it's got to start with the leadership of each country, and that's why Dubai is a good country to learn from, because they fully embraced excellence.
Well said. Thank you, Robin. Now we've got a question for Santosh. Has been very patiently waiting. So, Amlan, can we
can I
give
just sneak in one more question, please?
very quick one, very quick, because Santosh is waiting and we're running out of time.
Right. So a general observation that I have made over the years is that quality as a field of education is very much ignored, because proper, departments or programs dedicated to quality worldwide are very few compared to other subjects. Yep. Right. So maybe this is something that, universities or institutions across the world should be looking at.
Yeah,
Indeed.
definitely.
Yeah, that's my basic observation or question.
Thank you. Okay, Santosh.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Vir. Mr. Roman, thanks for this excellent presentation. See, I have been staying in Dubai since 15 years, and I have been seeing the vision of the leadership, across the public, entities completely. That's very clear. One leadership thought, being very focused and all. But given all these years with all these excellence models existing, why is it that the private sector over here is not able to align their visions or their goals in line with the vision of the of the leadership that is existing in Dubai? We know, I mean, when I landed here in 2005, I have seen it's all just sand everywhere. It's all desert. But today you see on the for people who do not know, but on the Sheikh Zayed Road and all, I have never dreamt of it, but I see that there is a gap. People are not understanding the vision of the leadership. I mean, the organizations, when I'm talking purely about the private firms. The government or the public firms are quite focused. One vision, very clear, everybody is working together. But in the private organizations, in one of your points, you said the ecosystem speaking to each other, partnership and all. But in this ecosystem, every single entity is working in their own best interests. There are a lot of excellence models that are available in Dubai, like the Mohammed Rashid Al Maktoum Business Excellence, Khalifa Excellence Award and all. And a recent company which has followed the excellence model, Arab Tech, has failed. They have got into bankruptcy mode, So I do not know. There is some gap missing, I feel, is it the government has to take a bit more initiative on telling the organizations and the firms operating that, hey, you are here not just to operate, but then really raising the way the businesses operate here? Or how do we bring in this awareness? I'm saying there is, this is just building question on Dale. I follow Dawn Ringrose, her extensive work, what I have been looking into all of this, but still this question is always unanswered. But then when we have all these excellence models, people talk about vision just to keep on their walls, yeah, this is my vision, this is my vision. It's fine, but how can we really bring in that? People are not taking the public sector as an example. I come from India, where the public sector isn't that much fine-tuned. But here The public sector is a real role model. They give a lot of insight, everywhere you go. So if you can just, this is my question, George, Roman, this is my question.
More than that, just an answer, and agree with you. Dubai, UAE is a unique in the world related with using this excellent framework in the public sector. If you compare AFQM, Baldrige, you will see majority of the organization are private business. But I can tell you that in Dubai, especially in Dubai, with our stakeholders, private stakeholders, they are getting there. They are in the learning process. We are engaging them to join us, to be part of this path. It will take time, but the reason I don't know exactly why in Dubai is lack of using the Peace Excellence framework in the private business, but I'm very proud to be working in the public business area in Dubai. And probably Robin know more why do not private business are equal like the public business, but it's a matter of time, I think. I hope.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Well, look, I'm thinking at this point, because we are now at 6 minutes past 7. May I have your permission to include your email when I send out the recording to people so that they can carry on the conversation with you?
Please,
and also, I'd like to give a little bit of a plug for the New Zealand Business Excellence Foundation, NZBEF. We've got a LinkedIn channel, and we could continue the conversation there as well. So I invite you to join us in New Zealand. And I'd like to thank George very, very much for the great presentation, and you stimulated some great conversation. And Robin, thank you for chipping in and lending a hand. Excellent. Thank you for your questions, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Keep in touch.
Thank you, Vikash. Thank you, Beryl, Robin. Pleasure, guys. Good afternoon and good morning in Dubai.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. I'll send out the recording.
Bye.